continued to sneak slaves in, and they also did something called the intra-American slave trade, where they start moving slaves around between the Caribbean and in America. So if you hold your slaves the longest, so you got to have a free labor source the longest, that means you're going to be able to profit from those slaves the longest, which will what? Bolster your economy. Adam, for example, you're a business owner. You own a business?
Technically, but I don't have employees.
Okay, Adam has employees. Adam, imagine a guy with no jumper west across the street. He doesn't have to pay any of his hosts. He has no overhead. Everyone's just showing up working for free. In the realm of capitalism, would he not have a significant advantage over you economically because you have to pay everybody?
Sure, yeah.
Even provide health insurance in some cases if you have a certain amount. So we're not going to eliminate or negate the fact that America had a major alley-oop from black people in two ways. We not only brought the slaves to the coast of Africa for you to take them wherever, we also inside of America worked for free for a significant time longer than European slaves, which bolstered the American economy.
Yeah, I just don't think it's that big. I think you're blowing it way out of proportion. We can agree to disagree on that.
No, so we can fast forward in history. 183,000 African American troops served in the Civil War. The North could not have won without those black, well, they were African, and they weren't even Americans yet, soldiers. Even Lincoln admitted to that. What's the other guy's name?
I'm already mad at black people.
Ulysses Grant. No, Ulysses Grant admitted to that. Ulysses S. Grant admitted to that.
Yeah.
Those black battalions were a crucial part of the North maintaining the Union and submitting the Confederacy. So everywhere you turn in history, if you're honest, Spanish-American War, again, you guys' immunity, your weakness, internal weakness, prevented you from going to Cuba to fight the Spanish. So you know what you guys did? You know, this is a quiz. What did you guys do when you couldn't with Spain in the Caribbean? What did you guys do to win the Spanish-American War?
I don't actually know. Did we send blacks?
You recruited a bunch of black people into the military. Actually, they were already in the military and sent them. Please go fight for us because we're too weak to fight for ourselves because our immunity isn't up. You were not inoculated. So that's the one thing. You guys have benefited from black people greatly. You understand that black people in many ways.
Well, I mean, Spanish people are European, so that's like a brother war.
The Spanish used indigenous people from Cuba to fight for them. They were also too weak to go into the interior. Okay. So what I'm saying to you is this. To sum it up, white people feel and recognize a certain level of inferiority to black people. You guys understand that.
Come on, man.
No, I'm telling you. You guys understand that. And so, you know, if you go up against a black person head to head, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to win for whatever reason. Maybe it's just comfort. Maybe it's like white fragility, as they call it. But so what you do is you manipulate situations to get a advantage. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. You should do that. But I'm trying to tell you, why did Europeans work with African chiefs? They knew they couldn't go in there and snatch Africans from the interior of Africa. Why did they bring the black troops into the Civil War? Because they knew we're not strong enough alone to keep this union together. Let's go get these big ass slaves who've been lifting bales of hay, picking cotton all damn day, looking like superheroes, 6-pack. Let's go get them and throw them into the theater, the military theater, and see what happens. And what happened? A victory. Spanish-American War as well.
Yeah, sure. I think blacks actually have a pretty decent record in the military. That seems to be one of the areas where they don't do really poorly compared to everywhere else. My personal theory is that black people do better when they have their discipline kind of enforced on them by white people. So that's why, like, going back real quick to the colonies, if you look at Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Haiti, they overthrew the colonizers, the slavers, killed everybody off, got their independence like hundreds of years ago. Dominican's Republic stayed under the white rule for much longer, and it's way better off now because white people were running things for so long.
That's not why.
That's not.
No, it's much better off because France imposed taxes
Oh yeah, this
on Haiti.
Yeah.
This is a fact. This is historical. Are you arguing historical fact?
No,
'Cause he could look it up.
I know about the.
Okay,
I know
so
about
France
the debt.
imposed
Yes,
taxes,
yes.
which so you don't even know what you're talking about.
No, I do.
So
know,
the
I
people,
do know.
Okay,
The
who
thing
started
is,
the Haitian Revolution?
Haiti has so much resources.
Who started the
They
Haitian
should
Revolution?
be so rich
Listen,
right now.
who started first? Who started the Haitian Revolution and why?
I specifically who started it. I don't know.
Okay. The Haitian Revolution was not started by black slaves. The Haitian Revolution was started by mulatto descendants of slave owners. Do you know what a mulatto is?
Yeah, they killed all the mulattoes.
No, they
though,
didn't. No, they didn't.
Yeah, I'm sure they did because they were so racist. I read that.
Listen, the mulattoes,
Look it up.
let me explain this to you. The mulattoes were mad because they wanted French citizenship.
Mhm.
They would not give it to them. They wanted to be accepted by France. So they raised up a rebellion and they went and started killing the white slave owners. And they fought with French troops. They recruited the black slaves to fight in their military. Once that revolution was done, they wanted the slaves to go back into the fields and work for them. So when you talk about this should be better off and that should be better off, actually no, because the mulattoes were the ones who controlled the economics. If you're having taxes imposed on you for a war you didn't even start, it's going to make it really hard for you to grow economically and build all that shit you see in the Dominican Republic.
So you're saying they didn't kill all the mulattoes? They just went back to work for them after the revolution, and the mulattoes were the ones running everything in Haiti?
No, what happened was many of the mulattoes left, but the mulattoes had several mulatto rebellions following the Haitian Revolution. They didn't kill all the mulattoes like you want to say.
They didn't kill all of them. They killed a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
They killed a lot of mulattoes, but you have to understand, many mulattoes had children that were mixed. Many of them had mothers who were slaves and stuff. So who used to be slaves. So they had a family connection with many slaves. What I'm telling you is you're ignoring context in the name of bolstering white superiority. And if you're going to say you're better, which I don't have a problem with you doing that, just understand the context in which you're saying that. Because we're going to move into the modern day and we're going to argue that as well.
Do you really believe that white people have an inferiority complex towards black people?
Yes.
I mean, first of all, some would say that's a racist belief. That's a negative viewpoint that you hold about
white people have a cuckold culture, and it wasn't all. No, I'm not saying it was always that way. I'm not saying it's always that way. But white people, good times make soft men. Right?
Sure,
That's what happens.
yeah, sure.
So you guys have enjoyed a certain level of success that has made things very comfortable. And the problem, you are not Theodore Roosevelt. You're way softer than him. He'll beat the shit out of you out there in the parking lot. He was a white dude who was a gangster. He was a commander. And as a matter of fact, he said his black troops that he commanded in Cuba were the best troops he ever commanded. He's on record saying that, by the way, since they only do well. But here's the thing. You guys just have become incredibly soft and comfortable. And so instead of building up the grit, now you use manipulation tactics to dominate. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. We just recognize that when we look at the historical record.
What? Okay, I'll bite. What are the manipulation tactics that white people use?
I'll give you a very an easy example. So when you look at black people, even in sports, right? Let's say sports. Any sport or any field really that black people compete directly with white people, usually black people rise to the top of that spectrum or that theater, right? So
in sports,
in sports, in education,
in mathematics, in chess.
Okay, so let's say this.
Science.
Okay, let's use the military.
Okay.
Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
Way more successful than the average white squadrons of bombers. This is a fact.
Man, this is the thing about you black people. You have this whole we was history where you did everything. I'm not saying we won the war. You were the best at everything.
I'm not saying we won the war.
I think it's exaggerated.
I didn't even say we were the best. What I told you is when we were given the opportunity equally, we rose to the upper echelon of that theater. I'm not saying that was the best squadron. Clearly, that best squadron probably was white. What I'm saying is we have this natural ability to float towards the top of every environment we're placed in. There used to be a bunch of white people playing basketball. Who in there now?
Yeah, I think black people have a predisposition towards basketball because they're taller on average and they're athletic, and there's a lot of.
But
other
we just brought up
sports
the
like that.
Tuskegee Airmen. Has nothing to do with athleticism.
Well, I think you're watching these Hollywood movies and think, like you probably think black women sent us to the moon.
No, I don't
like
think that at all.
Hidden Figures or whatever.
I don't think that at all. I think his Hidden Figures was a total embarrassment,
Okay,
and it was
well,
very
thank you for that, at
ahistorical.
least. Yes.
I'm gonna give white people credit where it's due, but I'm telling you, the number one type of porn that is watched in America by white men is what? Interracial.
BBC.
Black dudes boning white chicks.
But it feels like all the things you're going to are like physical in nature.
Yeah,
Or-
we can go to the mental because we know that there are great black scientists and stuff. Would I say those black scientists have contributed more than white or European scientists? No, not to technology or anything like that. But you got dudes like what's the super smart dude's name? The black dude,
Neil deGrasse.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. Right? No, but what
That guy's an idiot.
No.
Man, come on.
whether you believe he's an idiot or not, he's respected in his field.
Yeah.
That's what he parlayed into
he's kind of
success.
propped up for being black. We have this concept called black privilege, where black people get propped up just because they're able to do something almost as competently as a bunch of other white people.
No, because we do it better and we make it more interesting. Neil deGrasse Tyson is propped up because he's exciting to listen to.
Yeah, he's a good public
There's
speaker.
a guy who's 10 times smarter,
Right.
but he's lame as. So you're like the person behind the scenes directing the movie, but then you get mad at the actor because he's loved by everybody.
I don't know that he's loved by everybody, but I think the big contention here is that he's like some respected scientist. He's more of like a TV host than anything.
Neil deGrasse Tyson has done more for the field of astrophysics by being famous, being recognizable than any white astrophysicist, because like the closest to him would be like Bill Nye, right? We all know Bill Nye. What I'm telling you is that black excellence benefits everyone in the long run, because now it's cool to be an astrophysicist again. Now it's cool to be like this super smart brain. You know how many kids used to get bullied in school for being super smart? Now people watch Neil deGrasse Tyson and you say, man, I'm just into like physics. And people are like, oh, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, that's dope. We opening doors, but we throwing y'all alley-oops all day.
And he's definitely useful in that regard. I mean, you need to have people who are basically advocates for the sciences and everything, but also, I mean, he's probably not the top scientist. He's just good at communicating it to the layman.
There are black people who I respect for their intelligence. I probably wouldn't personally put Neil deGrasse on the list, but there are others. There's people like Thomas Sowell. You got Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court Justice. There are intelligent black people. There's others I could name. So I'm not disagreeing with that, but they are sort of they're rare. They're very rare, relatively speaking, right? Like, we know the average IQ difference between black and white people is like a standard deviation. So it makes sense that white people are going to do better in business, build better societies, do better in literature, like all the things that require intelligence, basically, whatever it is, chess, math, engineering, you're going to see white people do significantly better.
guys-
than black
IQ is
people.
definitely probably one of the landmines that we might as well just intentionally step on right now. I don't know that you've ever argued this, or do you have any kind of real interest in
And
this?
Neil deGrasse Tyson's probably like got a fair bit of European DNA.
I think his name's deGrasse, but
I think he's like half white.
But you
isn't he?
guys made up
a lot of the black
but you
people
guys
who
make
get
up the
propped
white-
up, they're
you guys
half
made
white.
up- but
Obama's
you got-
half white.
But you guys made up the one drop rule, so we claiming that. What I'm saying,
yeah.
What I'm
just
saying is
saying.
this: you can say that, but you can't even name 3 white economists.
Milton.
Who Milton?
Oh, his name? Friedman. Milton Friedman.
Okay,
That's
damn,
it.
he's dead.
Neil is black and Puerto Rican.
Oh, okay.
You're
So
claiming Puerto Ricans now?
no, I'm just saying. No, Puerto Ricans they have black blood in them a lot, actually. Some of them.
Really, his mom's not white.
No.
I just.
Yeah, I know. That's burst your bubble. Tell me 3 white economists.
Oh man, I don't know. I could if I sat here and thought about it, but
Oh, I'm sure.
it'd be boring.
But what I'm saying is this: you can say, well, white people dominate in this, white people dominate in that. Listen, man, you could be the smartest guy in the room, the best financial advisor ever. But if you can't sell books like Robert Kiyosaki, you ain't shit.
No, that guy's a retard.
Because he is, but he's good at writing books and selling people this idea of him being an expert on financial literacy. And that's what black people bring to America.
Black economists constitute approximately 3% of U.S. economics PhD holders. Latinx economists, which by the way, ChatGPT actually using Latinx, 4%, Asian Americans 17%, white economists approximately 72% of doctorate level economists at the Federal Reserve.
Right, but guess what? The only economist that he could name off the top of his head was who?
Well, he's not an economist and probably not a huge economy.
He's the one who brought up economists. He's the one who brought up economy. The only economist you could bring up off the top of your head is who?
Milton Friedman.
No, Thomas Sowell.
Oh, yeah.
He's an economist. You didn't even know that.
No, I did know that.
Okay,
I know that.
but that's the one you know. And so while white people contribute, in my opinion, way more than black people to building up America, black people have a significant impact on not only the building of America, but of the exporting of American culture, which makes everyone around the world want to be like an American. It's just the facts. And I use sports. I use just anything we do. We kind of rise to the top. I mean, damn, look at the UFC. Look at anything. And there's a reason for that. So you guys now say, we're not going to compete equally with them. We're going to manipulate shit so we can remain relevant in these areas. And that's what happens.
Right. So going back to the manipulation, you brought up sports and we got off on that big tangent. How do we manipulate the situation?
In the 1950s, the black families per capita coming out of the Great Depression were better off, have more economic, have more resources basically than the average white family.
I don't think that's
true. Well, you go look up your history.
That's not true.
Okay.
That's absolutely not true.
Let me finish.
What should I look up?
Man, listen.
You're saying black families in the 1950s had more wealth.
I didn't say we had more wealth.
Well, net
per
worth.
capita.
Higher net worth per capita than white families in the 50s.
How could that possibly be true?
There's no way.
If that is true, then like everything that every black activist is telling us is bullshit.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah, the whole reason black people are supposed to be poor now is because they never got their houses passed down to them.
The reason black people are poor now is because white people, in the name of capitalism, which I'm a capitalist, they saw the need to assimilate, to bring black people into their economy. You can just watch on YouTube. There's a thing called How to Sell to the Negro, where the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States of America was like, look, there's this untapped class of consumers, black people. He literally was like, 1 in 3 black families own a home. Black people are known for buying quality goods, being willing to spend a little more on what they purchase. Literally, he told white people, stop being racist. Go sell them things because they have money. Then you guys sent your agent, Martin Luther King, in to make black people feel like being close to white people was the coolest thing ever. The FBI literally worked with Martin Luther King to spread that message. That's the manipulation. If you guys just want to do head up, like, okay, let them do their thing, we'll do our thing. In reality, black people will be damn near surpassing white people in America by now.
In 1950, the median income for black families was about half of that of white families.
Do you understand how significant that is in the terms of economics?
A lot, yeah.
That's good.
And by the 60s, it had only risen by about 5%.
It's better than
but
that,
you know why it only rose by 5% by the 60s? Think about it. You coming out of slavery, you didn't got, in the few years we were free. White people was free the whole time. We got to half of your net worth. Well, basically your per capita wealth. Mm-hmm. Think about that. These people coming out of slavery can't read, can't write, picking cotton. In just that short span of time, we made that much advancement. You guys saw, damn, these dudes are moving fast. They're coming up fast.
What
and our women like sleeping with
Why'd
them and
you
making
stop?
babies. Listen,
Why'd you stop?
because that's when the damn psyop started. That's when the Martin Luther Kings came in. Oh, we need to be brotherly with white people. We need to go. Listen, when you got black people getting beat up and bit by dogs just to go eat a sandwich next to a white person, you know there's manipulation at play, right? Because black folks are scared to hell of dogs, like a lot of us. You know that there's something, some outside entity that is pulling strings within that situation. Because why would black people give up their own economy, which we had our own economies, we had our own towns, our own doctors, our own mechanics. Why would they give that up just to go shop at Sears Roebuck, just to go shop at Woolworths? Why would they give up autonomy to be a second-class citizen under your shit? It's called manipulation. It's called psyops. And that's what Martin Luther King was.
Yeah, I mean, his handlers were Jewish, but
They're white. They're white.
well,
Germans.
We don't claim that.
Germans. See how you know this is true.
I don't think they're white, so we don't.
They're
have to
white.
We don't have to get into all
Polish
that.
people are white.
What is your theory on why Africa is not doing so well? If black people are so amazing, how do you explain that?
Well,
it's all white people's fault, all up and down the entire continent.
The thing about Africa, it's a complicated situation, but short story shorter, I got that from one of the viewers. Basically, Africa is busy trying to adopt ways of governance that they traditionally don't even understand. So because African countries just came out of colonization like not even 100 years ago, it's just taking them time to build up the wherewithal to like install these foreign systems of governance. So you got to understand, black people came out of slavery in like the 1800s. Africans just came from up under colonization in the 1960s. So it makes sense. These are growing pains. When you guys were living in the caves of Europe, you didn't just walk out one day and build a Tesla. You took time. You fought with each other. You freaking did incest, all types of crazy stuff. The tribes of Britain, you know, the guys put the blue paint all over their body. You know about that, right? Okay, you didn't know your history. Damn. But the thing is, it took advancement. The Roman Empire was technologically advanced. 300 years after the Roman Empire fell, they didn't even have sewage systems in England. See, there's a regression that occurs. Even though you might have been here at one point, if you are stripped of your culture, or not even your culture, but if there's been your culture, your development has been stifled, you have a regression, and then you have to crawl up out of
There's
that.
places that were never colonized in Africa,
Right.
and they're worse off than the ones that were colonized.
Name one of those places.
Oh, fuck. I want to say, if I could look at a map, I could it's either like Ivory Coast or the one next to it. And also places in, I think in
What language do they speak in the Ivory Coast?
I don't know.
French.
Is it French?
So how were they never colonized?
It's around there somewhere.
Maybe you're talking about Guinea-Bissau.
The two parts of Africa that were never formally colonized by European powers during the scramble for Africa were Ethiopia and Liberia.
Liberia, yeah.
Ethiopia. That's the one I was thinking of.
Ethiopia was not colonized, but Ethiopia is also one of the burgeoning economies within Africa.
Yeah, but it's nowhere near like any Western country, right? Like it's not even, you can't compare them at all.
They're nowhere near any Western country, but there's been a lot of like interference in Ethiopia. I'm not going to bring up like Jewish people and all that, but if you do a little bit of historical like research, you'll see that there are players within Ethiopia that have significantly impeded Ethiopia's advancement.
So
but it's their
Ethiopia
responsibility.
maintained independence during the colonial era, except for a brief Italian occupation from 1936 to 1941 under Mussolini, but then they successfully defeated Italy at the Battle of Adwa in 1896.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, an African-American guy trained some of their like fighters. But what I'm telling you is Africa is having cultural issues. They're trying to adopt things that are traditionally not their way of doing things. And I'm not saying Africa is this great economic powerhouse. I'm not even saying Africans have the ability to build up Africa on their own. All I'm saying is there's other things that need to be considered. But the thing with the colonization thing, Ethiopia on the whole other side of Africa from Ivory Coast. Yeah, so you were way the fuck off.
That's fine. That's fine. All right. So
but they were all colonized during the A lot of those places were heavily impacted by the Muslim slave trade.
Yeah.
So when you talk about things, you talk about only in the context of America, but we talk about the whole.
Sure. All right. So history lesson aside, let's talk about today and why white people today are feeling fatigued and supporting Shiloh Hendricks. Because there's a lot of stuff going on. Like I already mentioned some of the things that happened just in the last week.
Right.
There's more. There's this little, I don't know if you guys saw the video on Twitter, this little chubby white kid who got bullied on the park and his head split open. Yeah. We see videos like this all the time. Black people chimping out in the fast food restaurant. You go to get service from a black person. You're praying to get some decent service. There was a video of this guy in the airport trying to get on his flight, and you got the black woman going, and you thought you was going to get on your flight, and you thought you was going to get on, just repeating herself over and over and over. A guy didn't get on his airplane because he pissed off the black woman.
That's not why, because everyone knows that boarding ends. If he was there 25 minutes before the flight leaves, you know that. I know that.
See,
you can't get on.
She did get fired for that.
They always stick up. Even when they're in the wrong, you'll stick up for your own people.
Was like you with Aaron the plumber and Black.
She was 100% wrong. Those two ladies were wrong. But what I'm telling you is anyone who flies on a plane knows you ain't getting on no plane if you show up 25 minutes before it takes off. They literally close the gate like 30 minutes before takeoff.
Yeah. So even that, putting that aside though, it's her attitude. That's what drives people crazy. That's the stereotypical attitude, right? That stereotype exists for a reason.
Okay, blame the white people who hired her. Well, I wouldn't have hired her. I wouldn't have hired either one of them.
They probably are required to hire pretty racially diverse.
Nah, that's been gone.
Crews.
Well, they are required because there's just not enough white people to go around anymore. Like when I was in the Seattle airport, they got Indians all over the place now, and they're standing there, and they like the one guy told me to go left, but he meant right, and I'm just like, you had one job, dude. What are you doing? And you can barely understand them because of their accents.
I feel like we got to acknowledge. Do you take offense to him saying chimping out?
I don't give a shit about that. That ain't bothering me.
I mean, it's just.
I'm not a chimp.
Everybody knows what it means, and it describes it so well. Like, and I think like you could potentially have like white people chimp outs. They're just incredibly rare. You just don't see them every day on Twitter like you do with
I mean, mass shootings are chimp outs. Mostly white people are doing those.
No, that's different.
No, that's chimping out. That's freaking melting down, being super ignorant and selfish. That's chimping out.
Yeah, but those are planned out. Like that's a totally different phenomenon.
Those are planned out.
Yeah, they don't.
Wasn't much of a plan.
People don't wake up and say and then go and they get road rage and then they go do a mass shooting.
How do you know?
Because they study these things and they write about it. They plot it. They talk to people about their plots.
All right.
I mean, just equating the school shooter thing with the freaking out at the airport thing seems like kind of a stretch.
It's just ignorant shit. That's what it is. It's things that are done with no consideration of others. The same vein in which those two black ladies gave no consideration to the fact that, hey, this guy's like trying to get home to his family. You know, let me just help him as much as I can. That's the same ignorance. It's a little bit more extreme, but it's the same vein of ignorance that someone who says, one guy pissed me off. Now I'm going to go shoot up all the teachers and the kids in the school. It's the same type of ignorance.
I mean, can we all agree that the state of affairs currently where you have, a black person who does something antisocial, like in this case, a murder, and then raises $1 million from black people who basically completely ignore the realities of the situation, but want to get behind somebody who's part of their tribe. And then white people doing the same thing in reaction by supporting somebody like Shiloh Hendricks. This is not a tenable state of affairs, and this isn't something that should be encouraged.
White people started that, actually. You only started paying attention to it with the recent events. Dylan Roof had a GoFundMe, bro.
So
am I wrong or am I
right? If he did, it would have gotten taken down.
Walked into a church, and killed 9 black people.
See, this is what black people love to do is they love to bring out every time something bad happened. I bet if we go 10 more minutes, you're going to be bringing up the Tulsa race massacre.
I don't give a shit about that. You guys pay reparations for that.
Okay. White people are getting killed every day in America by black people. Every day, like about 45 a month.
Right.
So in Tulsa, it was like 26 black people who are killed. So there's a race massacre happening every month in America perpetrated by black people on white people. And we see the stories in the media every day. We see the Austin Metcalfs, the Logan Federicos. We see these people getting killed, and it hurts us because those are our people. We have a kinship with them.
It's a situation that you guys created.
What does that mean?
You guys created the current situation. If you look at all the white liberals, defund the police, black people are victims, this and that, systemic oppression, that's mostly white people spreading those ignorant ass messages.
Well, we all agree that's
The
good.
bleeding heart, college maiden, and the college cuck are feeling so bad for black people they never even met that they're voting or screaming that we need to get rid of the funding for the police officers who actually would protect those white damsels from the aggressive black guys who are killing them and all this crap you're talking about.
Yeah.
They're even screaming right now.
Dylan Roof did not have a GoFundMe.
He did. It got taken down.
His sister created one to try to raise $5,000 to cover the cost of a canceled wedding and to fund a dream honeymoon. But no, he
Listen,
didn't have
man.
one.
That was Dylan Roof's GoFundMe.
Yeah, and Kyle Rittenhouse didn't have one either.
I don't have a problem with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Well, I know. I wanted to say that at the start. You said people were trying to support him doing something wrong. He didn't do anything wrong.
I didn't say they were supporting him doing something wrong.
You did at the very start when you started going off all this, but we got off onto the slavery thing right away.
Where we were right before I said the thing
I know
about Dylan
exactly
Roof.
where we were.
Where was it?
We were talking about how you guys created this situation, and
okay.
even now, it's playing out because white people are literally caping for illegal criminal alien rapists.
What?
See?
You mean talk about the liberals? So, look, BLM,
Why- no, let me
BLM
ask
is
you a
not a
question.
white movement.
Let me
BLM
ask
is
you
a
a
black
question.
movement. The people who got rich
Listen,
off of BLM
who
were
are
black.
the
The
people-
whole defund the police thing is largely
Let me ask
black.
you a question. No, it's not.
Obviously,
No, it's
they're
not.
all
Yeah,
white
that was
liberals.
largely a black
That's
thing,
not
right?
largely black.
Oh my
BLM,
goodness.
dude, who's the
All
number
the leaders of BLM are black. Yes, there are white liberals. We all and they suck. There's no
There are
denying that.
white politicians
But
getting
the
on stage.
murders go back before defund the police. Okay, the murders that have been happening didn't start in 2020 or whatever. It started decades ago.
I'm gonna get to that too. But what I want to point out is the fact: white people defend criminality. I know that because the number one people advocating for criminal, illegal, alien, migrant rapists to be in this country and get due process. They're literally killing white women, and other white women and white men are fighting Donald Trump tooth and nail to let those people stay in the country. Am I wrong or am I right?
There are people like that. They're liberals.
There's a lot of them.
Sure. As a far right racist, okay, the way I look at stuff like that is that obviously people like me, we don't want the migrants here. We don't want any of them. We don't want to see our people getting killed by black people. The fact that white liberals disagree with me doesn't really it's not really relevant. I'm not going to be like, oh, you know what? The white liberals I have to get rid of because they're like in my tribe.
That's the biggest problem.
That's in the family. You know what I mean? That's in the family. That's like my problem in the family to deal with.
You believe
Same with the school shooters and whatever bad things white people are doing. Again, that's a white people problem that white people have to confront and deal with. But when it comes to problems from other races, that's like an outside foreign influence, foreign threat on my people. So I look at them separately. I look at them, they're different.
Can you look at what percentage of black people actually vote? Because that's your problem. You believe in God. You believe in Jesus. He's your savior. The Bible says you have to start in your house first.
Right.
Because the main problem is in your house. White people by far make up the vast majority of voters in America. Literally, if you guys just came together on a few issues, you could make America look exactly the way you want it to look. But you're going to blame this on 14% of the population when there are people within that population who are like, why the hell are these idiots voting to defund the police?
But if only white people voted, the whole country would be red across the board.
So why don't you guys all agree and vote?
Yeah, no, there's still white liberals, but the problem
White
is
people
there's
are divided
more.
right down the middle,
No. There's more conservatives. That's why the whole country would be red if only white people voted. The reason the whole country's not red is not because of white liberals. It's because all the minorities backing the white liberals, or vice versa.
If you look up the voting percentages, white people and lately Hispanic people are divided damn near 50-50 on liberal and conservative support. You got half of your group that's just a bunch of degenerates, and they love promoting and perpetuating degeneracy, but you don't want to accept that. So what you're doing is you're punching down on black people who really are losing our voting power by the second. And there is a significant portion of black people who don't want crime, don't want people getting murdered in the street. But we are not strong enough alone to beat the white degenerate liberals and the degenerates among our own group. They outnumber us.
This is a complete self-defeating argument, because even if whites were split 50-50 Republican Democrat, which they're not.
Can you just fact
even if they were, the blacks are like 90% Democrat. So if voting Democrat makes you a degenerate, the black people have a way bigger problem going on there than the white people.
Listen, black people vote Democrat.
Yes.
No matter what the Democrats are pushing, right? This is a fact.
Less so now than before, but still, yeah.
Less so, but so if the Democrats came and said, we're going to clean up the streets, we're going to get rid of the criminals, black people would still what?
Vote for them.
Vote Democrat.
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to get you to comprehend. If we just follow along with whatever the Democrats want to do, the Democrats are the degenerates. That's because we're voting, but they're deciding what we're voting for.
Every time I point out a thing that black people do, you pass you don't take accountability. It's always somebody else's fault.
This is a fact, Adam.
It's white people's fault that Africa's not doing good.
No, I didn't say anything about white people in Africa.
It's Democrats' fault that black people vote degenerately.
That is. A Democrat gets on stage and says shit like,
well,
our daughter, we need to do transgender rights.
Yeah.
Black people don't even believe in transgender rights. We just go along with it.
What does that say about black people?
What it's saying about you is you guys have a degenerate nature, and unfortunately black people follow along with you as if you're on the liberal side and do whatever you say is cool.
But you're saying this to someone who would presumably vote in the same direction that you would.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. So while I argue against the degeneracy in black, see me, I focus on the element within my own group that's degenerate. You do the worst thing possible. You try to focus on other groups of people instead of first addressing the element in your demographic that is really the root of all this shit.
Well, the problem is that the other people are in the house with us. So my view is like, get them out of the house and then clean up the house when it's less cluttered.
You still wouldn't be able to clean up the house because those degenerate ideas are entrenched into that side of the aisle. So if it's not blacks, it's just going to be Antifa. Antifa was the one burning shit down. Black Lives Matter, they did participate. But the people who were throwing the Molotov cocktails, burning down the police stations, those were largely Antifa terrorists, which is primarily made up of white people. You don't even know one black member of Antifa.
I don't know any members of Antifa.
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
they wear masks for a reason,
but you can see what skin color they are.
I think Antifa is probably largely white.
Right. But also, black people invented defund the police.
Okay, but who pushed that narrative? Who adopted that?
There's a lot of useful white people, like Robin DiAngelo is one of the leading voices of the whole like white fragility movement or whatever. But like obviously that's very influential to black people who read these texts and force it upon each other.
Let me give you some names you know. Bernie Sanders, Andrea Ocasio-Cortez.
Puerto Rican.
Listen, no, right. But see, now we want to go into religion. See, but Joe Biden, he was talking that shit, and then at the very end, he was like, hey, we got to drop that shit because it's hurting us.
But you're not willing to go along with him when he says that he doesn't feel any solidarity with Jews.
No, because Jewish people and white people, which Jewish people are white, they have been in cahoots in many economic ventures that have hurt a lot of people around the world. Slave ships were owned by Jews that the white people sailed on to get over to America. Am I wrong?
No, that's absolutely true.
Okay, don't try to play me. I know this shit. So, but what I'm telling you is, if a black person says defund the police, it doesn't even make a sound. But when a white person who's a politician like Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, who should know better, gets on the largest stage in America and starts saying that shit, that's when it becomes a problem.
ChatGPT says that the Jews didn't own the slave ships.
Man, ChatGPT, they're full of shit. I'm telling you right now. Listen. Israel manipulated that shit. You can't. I'm telling you.
Brandon, if I agree with you that we can't get rid of the ideas because the degenerate ideas are too entrenched, that just brings me
and white people.
Yeah, if I agree, and I think there's some truth to that, then that just brings me back to my original thing, which is, well, I got to get the people who are killing us to stop killing us.
Right. And you want me to tell you how you do that?
Yes, please.
Stop stripping parents of their power to discipline their children. That's all this is rooted in. You didn't have this shit happening in the 40s, the 50s, when white people were the most racist. Less white people were dying at the hands of white people. Black people.
Yes.
Why is that? Because your daddy a beat your no, because I know that's what you want to think, but this is the thing. Because if your daddy is in the house and he gonna beat your ass if you go out there and do something crazy, or your mama gonna whoop your ass if you do something crazy, that's gonna make you think twice before you go do some degenerate shit. That's gonna force you to kind of straighten up. When white people strip black people of the ability to discipline their children.
But how have white people done that?
Because he knows what is DCFS. What is child protective? What is all this crap? Go look it up. They've literally made it against the law to use corporal punishment against your children. Not
Is
limited
it against the law?
Including but not limited to even spanking.
I never heard that.
Okay, well, you need to look it up. Like in California, right? Corporal punishment is not necessarily illegal, but they say if your discipline causes trauma to your child will be removed from you. Now, who defines trauma? Oh, he's crying because he got his ass whooped. Okay, we can remove them. If you whoop your kid's ass, you're going to jail. 100%. When you remove that power, you strip the parents of that power, guess what? Kids went crazy, and black kids go a little bit harder because just the way our culture is. Now you got old block. You didn't have old block in Chicago in the 1980s or the 90s. You didn't have all that violence. But when you started to strip parents of the power to discipline their children the way they see fit, now you got a bunch of people who have no authority over their children, and their children are parenting themselves, and they are getting sucked into all this violent behavior.
So you think the X factor is being able to legally beat the shit out of your kid?
Hell yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I got my ass whooped. Did you get your ass whooped?
Yeah.
Did you go?
I don't think it was a good thing. I don't think it was good.
No, but what I'm saying, some people go above and beyond, right?
Right.
But just the fear of your father, the fear of your mother, greatly impacts the decision making. Did your dad whoop your ass?
A little bit, yeah.
So before you did something bad, what's the first thing you thought about?
Getting my ass whooped.
Our kids now don't have that fear.
Right.
They say, I wish you would touch me. I'm going to call the police. And you're going to go to jail. And you know where you're going to go? Right to jail. Once you remove that hedge, now you're opening the gate for all types of bullshit to happen.
Couple things here. Okay, first of all, I guarantee you most white parents today are not interested in beating their kids. They're not doing it because it's illegal. They don't want to do it. And you don't have white kids getting into the same kind of criminal activity to anywhere nearly the same state. So this is the kind of thing that happens all the time where they say, oh, why are they committing so much crime? It's like, well, because they don't beat their kids. But okay, well, white parents aren't beating their kids either. You don't see them going out joining O Gang or whatever. What is that? And then like people say the same thing, like white conservatives will say, oh, it's the music, it's the culture, it's like the rap music. But like white kids listen to rap music too. They don't go out and gangbang because they listen to a Snoop Dogg song or whatever. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, where are the black fathers? Because you mentioned them not being in the house. Did white people kick them out of the house too?
I'm going to get to that point. But what I'm telling you is this. We just witnessed 2 little kids having a shootout with the police. Those kids were not black. And I guarantee you white kids are committing way more crime now than they were in 1960 when their daddy was putting his foot in their ass. It's not happening as quickly because white people traditionally have a different mechanism for disciplining their children. And that goes back even to slavery and all that shit, but I'm not bringing that up. What I'm telling you is, if you spare the rod, the biblical, you're a Christian, you got that cross right there. You ruin the child. You guys have made it to where black people can't even use the rod. And we are seeing since that time, I bet you if we mark the time when corporal punishment was basically became taboo, I bet you will see a significant increase in the crime rate in the black community. I know that I was scared to get my ass whooped, so I didn't do certain shit. These kids have no fear of their parents, and they are getting more violent, aggressive, and degenerate by the day. And black folks ain't passed no laws to end corporal punishment. We didn't make that shit taboo. Our mom was like, "Nah, I'm gonna whoop your ass if you do that."
So what's your perspective on, like, I take it that you believe that black people genetically or whatever are just unlikely to be able to exist peacefully in society?
They're just more violent. They're more prone to violence. I think there's ways you can prove things. It's not like there's nothing you can do, but it requires a lot more discipline. I don't know, man. Where are the black dads? It would help if they stuck around, but I don't know how we're supposed to make that happen. I want to hear what Brandon has to say.
White people created entitlement programs. Entitlement programs required fathers to not be in the home for mothers to receive those entitlement programs.
Right.
And so if you're struggling to survive, and you like, man, you've been in struggle before with your wife or whoever, like, man, when money's a little tight, you know what I'm saying?
So the black women are kicking the men.
That's exactly
so
what happened. They literally, basically your white run government, especially at that time, they incentivized the deconstruction of the black nuclear family. And that took the father out the home, and that left the mother to raise the kids. And slowly what they did was they started reducing the amount that they gave for the entitlements, which then required the mother to go to work while receiving entitlement. Well, if she's at work, because she got to make ends meet on her own, who's watching the kids? And the kids are left to their own devices. And the Bible, your Bible, says foolishness is tied up in the heart of a child. So we know children without parental supervision are most likely to do bad things.
My hunch, based on all these interviews I've done over the years, is that the women are not kicking these guys out of the house. These guys are doing their own thing. They want to get to go be a Rolling Stone, do drugs, do whatever, start another family, whatever. I mean, it doesn't seem like the woman. Usually, the woman is pretty aggrieved by the man leaving, right?
No, well, the thing is, when you incentivize that type of behavior, right? So if the woman like, man, you're living here. If you're not here, I can get this money. This dude is like, man, I could go out catting all night if I don't got to be worried about these kids and my wife. Yeah, there were black men who were like, this is a great opportunity to go out and just be a whore, a whoremonger, a slut maker. But they did capitalize on that. But what I'm saying is, what if we would have just left these people where they were? Do you understand that even during slavery, most black children were raised in a two-parent home?
But if we were to take away welfare and the social safety net, the opinion of the average black activist would be that this was a massive detriment to the lives of black people, right? Like you're saying that somehow would make things better?
It was implemented to help black people. It wasn't implemented to destroy the black family. Maybe it had that effect. That's debatable, but they didn't do it thinking this is how we're going to black people. Also, it's worth noting, just like the hip hop music and beating your kids, there's no racial rules around welfare that say you have to be black to get welfare. So you don't see white women kicking their husbands to the curbs, being like, I'm going to go on welfare now. And so I don't know why that is either. If it's so great, if it's so great to just be on welfare and be a single mom, why don't more people do it from other races?
Well, you're just ignoring the historical record. All the way up into these entitlement programs were being introduced. Black kids were growing up in two-parent homes. You just read the statistic about the black wealth being half of white people a few decades removed from slavery. People were like my mom and my dad. We were growing up in the movie The Wonder Years. The show The Wonder Years is now about a black family, two-parent home in the 60s. If you look at when entitlement programs were introduced, everything declined at that point. So you can argue, I don't think that's the reason. No,
yeah,
that's exactly.
The Civil Rights Act happened, and I think that's
was horrible.
Yes, good.
It was shit.
Wait, why was that horrible?
Let's get rid of the Civil Rights Act. Let's bring back segregation, and then everybody's happy.
Because it incentivized victimhood. It told black people, you need an unfair advantage so that you can be as successful as white people. But the thing is, if you would have just left shit alone, black people were already on that trajectory. We were already getting to the point where we were nipping at the heels of white people when it came to our wealth and all that stuff. The civil rights movement destroyed Black America. Desegregation destroyed Black America because it made us want to be participants.
What are we arguing about, man? We agree on everything that matters.
But who instituted this shit?
Oh,
Who voted that into law?
Even if I agree that it was white people,
Okay.
that doesn't let's focus on the president. Let's just focus on getting segregation back, repealing civil rights, and fixing all the problems.
I'll do this. I'll agree with you on that. If you agree that white people implemented all the shit that led to where we are now.
Yes, they did.
Okay, you just lost this debate.
I don't think the terms of the debate were clearly defined, but either way, like if you're acknowledging that white people did all of this work to desegregate America, isn't this like really spitting in the face of the argument that white people are inherently racist and have really begrudgingly, given into this progress?
No, I believe those things were done out of racism.
That's so
I believe. No, listen.
I love
the
it.
number one beneficiary of civil rights affirmative action was not black people. It was white women.
That's not true.
Yes, it's
so
true.
racist that we're going to give you money. We're going to give you your rights. We're going to stop beating you. Tell the police to, call off the dogs,
There's this
etc.
black activist woman, I can't remember her name, but she said that. She said white women are the number one beneficiaries of affirmative. It's not true.
Yes, they
She just
are.
made it up. There's no data.
No.
She just made it up.
Listen.
It's not true.
Listen, when civil rights got passed, all these oppressed groups were included. It was not something that was exclusively for black people. That's one of the huge issues I have with civil rights. We fought for this shit, but when it came time for the benefits to be doled out, it went to everybody. One of the biggest beneficiaries of civil rights and of DEI, this is a fact even today, are white women. Were white women not allowed to get the scholarships and all that stuff that were provided under the Civil Rights Act and affirmative action, right or wrong?
I don't know specifically about scholarships under the Civil Rights Act, women probably get some scholarships, but when it comes to hiring under affirmative action, that all goes to black people. That's why that's why government jobs are full to the brim of black people. That's why you go to the DMV, you see black women
and white women.
But white women are a much bigger portion of the population.
Who goes to college at the highest rate? White men or white women?
White women.
Yes, why? Right, because affirmative action made it easier for them to go to college.
It's more complicated than that.
Nah, it's pretty simple.
No, there's a lot going on. Like college got so feminized that men didn't want to go anymore, and women were convinced they have to be these big boss bitches, so they all wanted to go. But the point is that black women and black people do get the most affirmative action jobs,
and white women
by far. If you're talking about like on a per capita, like a rate basis, it would be black people.
Okay, Fortune 500 companies. Are there more white female CEOs or black female CEOs?
I'm gonna guess white.
Right. If you look at,
that's not because necessarily because of affirmative action.
Just look at the result. Look at the result. I'm trying to tell you, white women went from being in the kitchen, stay-at-home moms, to being Fortune 500 CEOs.
I don't think they're giving out the CEO positions based on
action. I don't think that's what that does.
It's more
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised these days. You will be surprised. In the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion, stop yourself.
I mean, I could think of some examples that I've ran into.
You guys argue for the sake of arguing, but if you really look at it, the shit is true. DEI is basically the rehashing of affirmative action in all the things about equality. Mm-hmm. And if you look it up, white women benefited more from DEI than even black people. Gays and trans and white women, they benefited from that.
No.
I had an experience once where I had a meeting with a company, a large company, and the CEO was a woman of color, not black, but like Indian or some shit. And she was flanked by two white men who clearly were the most knowledgeable ones, who clearly deserved to have her job. And she was clearly there as a token, which even my liberal ass white wife could agree with. Like it was so painfully obvious.
Yeah.
So that definitely happens. But
and if you go to places where there's not a huge number of blacks or illegal or immigrants, the next one on that hierarchy for diversity, equity, inclusion are white women. And because there are more white women in America than black women, than Asian women, than Indian women, guess who, by sheer numbers, statistically speaking, have more advantage? White women.
Okay, so you guys both agree that the country should be segregated.
I believe segregation hurt the black community. Desegregation.
Right.
And I believe that his white people and your white people literally manipulated that situation to destroy the black nuclear family and the black economy.
Should we split the country down the middle approximately?
Not now.
Where do we put the Hispanics? No? Okay. So now you're determined to be one with the white people.
No, now I'm determined to take the steps necessary to restore black autonomy. We got to start making black people have become a totally dependent class. So it's going to take time to get us from that mindset of like, we need the white man for everything and get us back to the mindset we had coming out of slavery, which was like, we got to do this shit on our own.
They tried that in Haiti. They tried that in South Africa. They've tried that lots of places. Black autonomy doesn't seem that great. They sent a bunch of the freed black slaves to Liberia, gave them the Constitution. They had like an almost exact carbon copy of the U.S. Constitution. They said, here, go have your own country. Didn't work out, and it has never worked out. Black autonomy has never worked out.
So what you want to do is, in one instance, we got to keep it insulated to America. But then when I make a obvious statement, obviously true, and you don't really have an answer for that rebuttal, now we're going international again. That's fine. But what I'm telling you is, we know it works because we've already done it here in America.
Where
Reconstruction,
Black Wall Street,
Reconstruction. No, I'm not. You want to bring up Black Wall Street? See, you used to debate on Twitter.
I don't know what we're talking about.
What I'm telling you is, coming out of slavery, black people built more wealth. We built wealth at a faster rate than whites, because you guys were never enslaved. So how the hell did we in 50 years get to half of your wealth? Like you just looked up on ChatGPT. We got to almost half. If you kept things going the way they were, we would have been somewhere in the ballpark of white wealth. But what happened? You guys started helping. I'm going to put these quotes up. You guys start helping us.
How can you blame us for trying to help?
You ain't helping. You manipulating shit.
Us, meaning a lot of people
You're
who are now dead.
You're manipulating things. White people are not dumb. White people understand, look, if they're gaining on us, we need to throw some shit out there that's going to make them lose speed.
But it feels like
that was all that civil rights shit.
It feels like you're arguing that white people are capable of a degree of cultural control and manipulation that A, seems kind of unrealistic, and B, if true, is indicative of such masterful control over society that, like, shit, I guess they deserve whatever they ended up getting
You're
here,
crying
right?
about black autonomy. No one's got a gun to your head saying, hey, you can't have a two-parent household. You can't go to school. Like, no one's stopping you from doing anything. Do you agree with that? No one's, you're blaming the policies. You're blaming these incentives. And even if we accept that's true, even if we accept people are failing because of welfare or they can't beat their kids or whatever it is, do you accept that you could just choose to do those things?
There is someone impeding me, because and I'll use you as an example. Let's say you have a kid. Your kid wakes up in the morning, you know, Dad, school. I'm not going to school. I'm about to go out here on the corner and smoke weed with my friends. What do you do to make them not do that? How do you make them go to school?
I mean, this is one of these.
I'm asking you a question that's leading to the answer to the crap you're talking about. How do you make your kid, if your 14-year-old son says, Dad, school, I'm going to go smoke weed with my friends, how do you make him go to school?
I feel like you want me to say I'm going to beat the shit out of him.
Well, you'll go to jail if you do that. So
right.
Besides beating the shit out of him, how do you make him go to school and get an education and not become a member of Oblock?
I would raise my kids better than that to begin with.
No, what if he just see, everyone don't turn out how they was raised. There's something called influence outside of your house. What if he just gets with the wrong crowd, like the kid who was from Palo Verde or whatever and joined the Rolling 60 Crips? He's a white kid. What if he just gets around the wrong crowd and he's like, school. I'm going to go smoke weed with the homies. What are you going to do to make him go to school?
If I can't talk some sense into him, I am kicking the shit out of him. I don't care what the
And
law
then you're going to go to
says.
jail.
Okay.
And then guess what he's going to do?
You got to hit him on like the side of the head so there's no visible injuries.
Yeah, exactly.
Any abuser knows this.
But listen, so then you go to jail,
Get like
and
a
now
sock with some soap in it.
so when you so when you go to jail, what is he going to do as soon as you get locked up?
Smoke more weed to deal with it.
Join Oblast.
He's going to go right do what he intended to do, right? Now you're in jail and can't do anything. Okay, that is the position that you guys have placed black parents in. That's why the shit's getting out of control. Once you restore qualified immunity for parents, I promise you, you will see a decline in this shit that black people are doing. You got 8-year-old black kids toting guns in these cities. When your 8-year-old is toting a gun, you know the parent has lost control, or either they're a drug addict.
It just feels like kind of a dodge for you to say that the parents being not being able to legally beat the shit out of their kids is the X factor.
It obviously is, but also, you know, I'm going to agree.
Discipline.
I agree with you, actually. And
Discipline.
It goes back to what I was saying, that when I was talking about black people in the military, black people do better when the discipline is stricter.
All people do better when they have more discipline.
Black people and white people are different. Not everybody is the same. So I think black people specifically need stricter discipline in order to do well. So I'm gonna agree with you, and I'm gonna give you that one. Although I would question that a lot of these single moms aren't beating their kids. I think a lot of people
go to jail if they do.
I think a lot of people get away with beating their kids still today.
If you go to Appalachia, if you go up to the Catskill Mountains, it's some degenerate ass white people over there. We're doing crazy stuff. The Hatfields and McCoys, blood feud that lasted for decades. So it's proof that white people could do the same shit. Look at these guys who used to rob the banks, Babyface Nelson, John Dillinger, all this stuff. Stop yourself.
But anyone
what happened? For one, those people were locked up, right? There had law enforcement who was keeping those people in check. Then guess what? You had parents who could kick the shit out of their kids when they saw their kid trying to imitate John Dillinger.
But there are other ways to discipline your kid besides beating the shit out of them. And also, like, anyone who's spent a significant amount of time in Asia, I mean, being strict with your kids seems like it really is the way forward. You go to Japan and you see how unbelievably strict their society is and how well it functions.
Right.
It just seems like, yeah, I mean, a lot of parents should go in that direction. For me, as a parent, as somebody who grew up with extreme behavioral issues, for sure, I'm raising my kid in a very strict environment. She doesn't have a phone. She doesn't have a tablet. She's not allowed to watch TV. She has structured activities and programs after school, etc. You know, I mean, it just feels like the deciding factor in which to explain away why there's so many problems with young people in the black community can't just be it being harder to abuse your kids.
Not even, see, that's what I'm saying. It's not even the fact that you want to beat the shit out of a kid. Even the language you're using is that language that led to kind of this situation. You can't discipline your kids in any way. Oh, face the corner, stay in your room. Now they're saying that's trauma.
You can't send your kids to the room.
Listen, what I'm telling you, you got to be involved in this shit. I literally have a foster kid. I have a foster kid. Whoa. You cannot do anything that induces trauma. So if that kid goes to their school and says, man, my dad made me go to my room and like, I was so scared and this and that. My dad sent me to bed without dinner, whatever. They will remove your child. So you are fortunate enough to live in an environment where it's like, I can kind of manage this, and like in like Beverly Hills or wherever you live, CPS ain't crawling through the neighborhood. People ain't snitching you out. But I'm telling you, literally, if your kid attacked you with a knife and you punched him in the face and knocked him out, and the police came to your house, they would remove your child and take you directly to jail. I literally asked this question in an RFA, which is called Resource Family Assistance, state of California, RFA meeting, parenting meeting. They said, well, you have to do your best to just avoid the child. Go lock yourself in a bathroom, something like that. People have been stripped of their ability to discipline their children, not limited, including but not limited to whooping your kid's ass. Our kids are out of control. They have no boundaries, nothing. You see that. Look, we was here with a 14-year-old kid acting a damn fool. And that shows you. And that kid wasn't even black. And he talking about he want people to slide and kill people to his music and all that stuff. You're making it, you're saying this is a black problem. This is really an America problem. It's going across all culture, all ethnicity. You just are hyper focused on blacks because you don't like black people.
No, it's the rates that these things happen at. So, right. So like, yeah, there's white criminals, the white people, you can find examples of them doing anything bad you can think of, but it's a question of what are the rates that they're happening at. 1 out of 3 African-American males is a felony or will be convicted of a felony. And they're like 33%. For white people, it's like, I don't know, 7 or 8% or so. I don't, you have to look it up for white people. I don't actually know. But so it's a question of the rates that these things happen at. If you're a gambler, okay, if you understand probabilities and statistics, you understand you're safer around a bunch of white people than you are around a bunch of black people. Like, it's as simple as that.
I wouldn't even argue that point. You're 100% right. What I'm saying is, now look at the rates of black people who go to prison who grew up with a father in the house. As you start to reintroduce things that were deconstructed, the rates move much closer together. They look more, they're like in the same, they're at the same levels. So what I'm saying is, we do need to put the black fathers back at home. 90% of all people who are specialists in this field say the same thing: the removal of the black father from the home. You argue, oh, some of these people want to leave and stuff. Well, this stuff is all documented. Why black fathers left the home, why black kids grew up without fathers, or really any parenting because the mom had to work and stuff. So what I'm arguing is not something that has not been studied and been proven. But what I'm saying is, one thing we know about this country that will never cease to be true, well, it might, white people instituted all that shit. You guys have been running this country for longer than anybody. So everything that happens in this country is your fault.
Everything.
Damn near. You've had some hand in it. It's 500 white men on Capitol Hill running this country. They ain't all black. So whatever happens in this country, they're allowing it to happen. Because if someone does a crime, they're supposed to go to jail. But white liberals in New York are saying, no, write them a ticket and give them cashless bail. Black people ain't controlling that.
I feel like both of us feel like it's not within our control.
Black people are like the ones doing the crime. That is the problem. You can say like, oh, it's white liberals' fault they're not going to jail, but it's also like, well, no one's holding a gun to your head making you go out and commit crime. No one's forcing you to not comply with the police officer who pulls you over to give you a ticket. Right. You know what I mean? So there's just like all these obvious problems, but there's no accountability. So my fatigue is increasing as this conversation keeps going, because I can't. It's like nothing is your fault. Nothing is your people's fault. Everything is white people's fault. And even if that was true, it wouldn't change where I'm coming from, which is like, well, if we separate, if we have our own countries, like we're in a white country. America is a white country built by white people for white people.
And black people.
So if you want to talk about like affirmative action benefiting white people, it's like white people shouldn't have to compete with other people in their own country for the jobs in the country.
So you're going to say white people built America and no one else contributed to that.
If you look at what the founding fathers said when they set up the original rules around naturalization and who could become a citizen, it was explicit that you had to be white. That was like one of the rules for becoming an American citizen. So when I say America was created by white people for white people, I'm talking about the founding fathers, the people who wrote the Constitution, the people who designed the government and the laws and all that. They were white men who built a country for white people.
And then brought a bunch of black people over here. Because we just came here willingly. Exactly. Yes. So your argument is ignorant. They built it for white people, white this, white that. But because you guys are too lazy to work your own fields, you went and got a bunch of black people. We didn't ask to come here. We didn't book a flight. Like,
would you agree that
mistakes were made?
Slavery was normal all over the world at that time.
Listen, I'm not arguing. Right. But what I keep trying to tell you, and you just made my point again, this shit is you guys' fault. Your founding fathers made this for you and then brought a bunch of black people here.
Yeah, so I agree that was
They
a
fucked up.
mistake. I agree that was a mistake. Then so
Stop blaming us for your mistakes.
well, it's not even a question of blame. It's a question of what's the solution. And as a white nationalist, like the ideal solution would be all the black people go live in Liberia or something like that. That would be the ideal. That's not going to happen, obviously. But if I had the Infinity Gauntlet,
I have my way
or whatever,
I believe all black people should go back to Africa, 100%. But listen,
we agree on
listen
all the good stuff. I actually kind of like you now.
But listen to what I'm telling you.
That's what people were saying to me before this. Is like they're going to agree on everything.
If you guys stay the out of black people's business, we will be. We can do it ourselves. What were the murder rates with white on black crime rates? I mean, black on white crime rates during Reconstruction, when black people were creating the Republican Party and voting conservative. We weren't doing anything to you guys. We literally were making our own insulated communities like we just want to be left alone. We were calling that shit Freemanville and shit like that. You guys started manipulating. You started intruding into our spaces, manipulating situations, which directly led to us having to interact with each other more than we really should be. So y'all started that shit. We were like, segregation, all right, the way it is. You gotta drink out of a bucket. Okay. We might have water fountains in 20 years. We didn't even argue it. We accepted it. Black people pretty much accept whatever white people say. This is what we doing now. You guys
stop killing us.
You guys stop.
Get a job. Raise your kids.
You guys, listen. What happened was
your new orders just went out.
What happened is you guys were too successful and you're victims of your own success. All your sons and offspring became pussies. Their women revolted against them. I want to work now and all this shit. Black men, we have the sense to beat the shit out of our women. Still.
You're so pro-abuse.
Listen, women's rights.
Like women and children need to get the shit kicked out of them in your worldview.
All I'm saying is a man needs to be a man in his own house. The person who made it illegal for a man to be a man in his own house was white people. You guys gave your women empowerment, gave them the right to vote. They turned on you. Then they start supporting the gays. Then the gays became trannies. And because you guys are too weak to stand up to your own kids, mom, dad, I hate you and all this shit, our society has deteriorated. Now the college white kids are perpetuating the black ignorance. So if I want to go out to O Block and exterminate all those gangbangers, I can't, because a white guy's going to come take me to jail.
You're not wrong, okay? You're not wrong.
I know I'm not wrong. I don't need a white person to tell me that.
Sure.
The fuck?
What I'm here to tell you is that the whole thing of white people being pussies, you're seeing that come to an end. We're at the tail end of that.
And I welcome
that's what
that.
This conversation
I
about
welcome
fatigue
that.
is about.
Do you want to go outside and fight right now?
That's why we're giving money to talent. That's
Look
why.
at Adam's face.
I was like, please no. Again with
We're not
this.
doing that.
He's had many near fights.
Listen,
You look like you have a pretty good bench, man.
Listen, I just benched today 545 3 times.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So here's the thing. Well, I got to work out. All these dudes want to fight me.
That is a lot.
But here's the thing. This is what I'm trying to tell you. I want white empowerment. I want you guys to feel strong, because if you guys feel confident, that means my kid has a safer environment to grow up in. Because maybe you'll stop being pussies and start taking people to jail when they do crime. If you told me snap the Infinity Gauntlet and every member of O Block will be disappeared, you know how fast I'll snap my
So
fingers?
he's saying Shiloh Hendricks good, and you're saying you actually are in favor of that because it might keep your kids in line?
No, she's just ignorant. You know what I'm saying. You're trying to be.
Well, I agree. She's ignorant,
she's
sure.
ignorant. She's trailer trash, because what she's doing is just like attention seeking. She's just doing it to try to get a reaction. She's calling some autistic kid the N-word. That's not helping anything. Even most white racists would be like, that's not right.
We still haven't seen that kid, right?
Well, why we haven't seen. Here's
A
my
lot of
issue.
questions about this kid.
No, here's my issue. Where were the parents?
Right.
Where was that little black boy's parents?
Yeah.
That's what I take issue.
And there's like a random child molester screaming at her on the playground, right?
And I feel like it was all staged. I really do.
I don't think so.
I feel like it was staged. But
I don't feel like it's staged, but I feel like there's more going on.
this is rage baiting.
Where the the parents? Where's the kid? Shouldn't they be like making some kind of appearance?
Where are the parents? And so I would say Shiloh Hendricks is ignorant as for saying that, but ultimately the parents are irresponsible for not being there with their kid and their kid who's supposedly autistic going through someone's bag. That's wrong to do. And that kid has no supervision. And I bet you if the kid, and let me stop saying parent, we know he has a single mother with no daddy around. But what I'm saying is, these are situations that need to be addressed. But Black people can address these situations if we're empowered to do so. But if I, like I said, if I go to O Block and say, listen, we getting rid of all these O Block little pookies tonight because we don't want them endangering all the other families, the families around here, who's going to come take me to jail? A white man. Well, you can't do that. Put your hands behind your back. there's you guys get in the way, but then complain about the problem that needs to be solved. Get the out the way, we'll handle that.
Sure. Real quick, couple questions. If let's say the kid's not autistic, is Shiloh still ignorant? Like, is that how much of a factor is that for you?
Shiloh's still ignorant, but also the parents are also ignorant and negligent. It seems
like a little bit of a contradiction to say we need to beat the kids, but then you're gonna get your panties all up in a bunch about saying some mean words to a kid.
I'm just saying she's ignorant. I'm not saying she's a criminal or she's a devil, none of that. She's just an ignorant trailer trash white lady, which is fine. Yeah. She has a right to say whatever she wants. It's America, First Amendment. First Amendment.
It seems like a pretty low bar to say adult calling a small child any kind of racial slur probably puts them in the ignorant bucket or bad person bucket.
That lady is ignorant. And she's prejudiced and she's racist and she's just she's not someone you would even want to sit down and have a meal with. But I let her. We live in America. The great thing about America.
I'd love to talk to her, Shiloh.
You're probably hitting on her.
I have been thinking about this during this conversation. How curious about the rest of her life.
He seemed like he'll be like, listen. The whole thing is, we live in America. She has a right to say whatever she wants to. I'll go to war and die for her to have the right to say what she wants to. But I also have the right to deem her to be ignorant. If
I feel like you would be less forgiving if she's called your child the N-word on playground.
No, listen.
I feel like you'd knock her out.
If she called my daughter could beat her ass. My daughter's freaking strong as hell. She's 16. But the thing is, my daughter's taller than me. So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. She plays volleyball. But the thing is, fuck that. She called me an N-word. So, you cracker ass, whatever. And I'm going to keep it moving. You call me something derogatory, I'm gonna call you something derogatory. Let's go home. Let's go get in and out.
I feel like, though, you are kind of content brained, so her screaming then where you probably would stop for a second and think, wow, if I capture this on video, this could be very beneficial.
I honestly don't even think about content. I literally this is who I am. Like, with this guy, there are things we agree on, but where we disagree is what is the cause and what's the solution. I believe that white people need to let Black people handle certain communal issues on our own, because there's nobody in this room who would argue against the fact that if you would allow Black men fathers to go get rid of O Block without no repercussions, O Block would have been gone years ago, because organized men will always outbeat unorganized boys. Or when they was 8 years old and we remember back in the day when your neighbors could whoop your ass? We need to bring that shit back. Hey, you see my kid doing something, his ass up and send him home. That would have negated O Block, because those kids would have been like, I can't do nothing around here. And you know, like, it's like a dog. If you do it while the dog is small, they have a heightened sense of its effectiveness. So when they get huge, what are they? They're still afraid of the newspaper. Even though if you hit them with the newspaper, it's not going to hurt them, but they still think it in that same vein. That's why Black people have like this reverence for their mothers. Like, don't say nothing about my mama. It's almost like it gets instilled in you to the point where now you even unknowingly perpetuate that. So now you do it to your children and your children do it to their children. We erased that when we told parents, if you do any type of trauma to your kid, and trauma is not just hitting, we're going to remove them from you and you might go to jail. You made parents afraid to discipline their children. And the children are now buck wild, including white children. Maybe not at as high rates, but it's including them. Look at these white kids occupying these schools at college. I sent you to school to go get an education. Now you talking about Palestine fighting with the police. That's a lack of discipline.
You're trying to get laid. You got to say free Gaza.
That's mostly
Let's be real. You're in college, you got to do it.
And guess what? What happened? When men started being pussies, our women went out of control. But what I'm saying is you see the white kids embodying the same type of degeneracy and anti-authority attitude, just in a different median. They're still fighting the cops. They're still boarding up college facilities and not listening to authority. That's the same shit, just playing out in two different theaters.
Yeah, I feel like we're winding down here, so I don't want to kick off a whole debate about the way. Just to finish my point about Shiloh, like just to make it clear on what I was trying to say there is that it's not like you think she's ignorant. I understand that perspective. That's pretty understandable.
You know she's ignorant.
I think I'm not going to victim blame. She was getting robbed by a thief.
She was getting robbed by a child.
She was frustrated. So I'm not going to. I don't think the kid was 5. That's a whole. We saw
the kid. He was like a little ass.
I don't think we saw the kid.
He's
right?
a little black kid.
There was a screen cap that what people were saying was the kid. He looked like he's about 10, 11.
The guy
12.
moved the camera to the kid. The kid was like 6.
The kid was like this tall.
He was standing on a jungle gym, dude.
No,
yes, he was. He was standing on a jungle gym. So he was this tall, standing on a 3-foot jungle gym.
He was way up there on the jungle.
He was LeBron James.
I'm saying his height. He was tall. I have a 4-year-old. My 4-year-old's like this. Well, maybe about like this tall. This kid was like this tall. Okay. But anyway, what I was trying to say is going back to white people not being pussies. This is why people gave money to Shiloh. It's because she did something kind of wrong, right? If we want to agree that what she did was wrong, that it sort of had to be. You had all these other cases like the Central Park Becky or whatever they called her, the city bike Karen. Remember in New York, this nurse went to like get her rent a bike, and a bunch of black kids said that she stole their bike, and she got smeared in the media. This keeps happening to people.
Right.
And the people, they didn't really do anything wrong. Like the Central Park Becky, she called the cops, and she had her life ruined because she called the cops on a black man that was making her uncomfortable. And everybody said she's this horrible, terrible racist. So Shiloh, she kind of did something a little bit wrong. She said the power word, the word you're not allowed to say. And that's why she got so much support, because it was people saying, you know what? We're at the end of our rope. This is like a warning. This is a shot across the bow to the black community. We're tired. We're tired of putting up with this kind of thing. That's what the whole situation was.
Mikey, you need to get a shot of this guy like dead on, because he hates Jewish people, but you look Jewish as hell, especially with those glasses. You put a little yarmulke on this dude.
I do get that.
I know. If you put a little yarmulke on this dude, they wouldn't even know. They'll be like, Rabbi.
Yeah, I did my DNA test just to make sure, and I'm all bang. Because people say that, man.
I'm looking at this guy's beard, the nose, the eyes. I'm just like, this guy is Jewish.
We are seeing how the sides are not allowed to play the same game, though, because I'm sure if he started telling you what he thinks you look like,
what do you
this
think
conversation would go a different way.
I don't know. A fridge?
Refrigerator Perry? He's just dude. I'm just listen, man.
What was I supposed to say? You mean like a gorilla or something?
I also like that you guys have essentially chosen like the same outfit for today.
Yeah.
I mean, slightly different jean styles, but pretty close.
But I mean, the thing is, we're dealing with people here, right? And people have a tendency to hyper focus on what they dislike and not look at things from a holistic perspective. So that's all I want people to do. Like, yes, black people are fucking up. We're doing shit. But you're not giving us the ability to self-correct. Even children, you give them the space to self-correct. Let's see if they'll get this right on their own. White folks, because of their virtuous nature, are like, no, we gotta like go in and interfere and all that shit. And that is why gangs took over black neighborhoods. That's why, because the righteous guy, the man who has he's justified in doing something, he still has to go to court. He still has to go on trial. He, like the situation with Daniel Penny in the New York subway where he killed the black guy.
Yeah.
100% right. I agree with him.
Yeah.
Jordan Neely was a freaking criminal, and he was crazy. And black people on the train said that Daniel Penny was a hero. But do you realize that guy had to go to a trial for that? Do you realize that there are people who are like, I can't protect my community because I'm afraid that if I do that, what if he would have got convicted and got life in prison?
Of course. But do you also acknowledge that if Jordan Neely had been white, there would have been less chance that Penny got charged?
You're just
not that he wouldn't have got charged. I'm just saying you would have you could see potentially if it was just some white homeless dude, maybe it's not a big story.
None of us would know about
maybe the cops just say, yeah, you did what you had to do, and it just goes away.
Well,
there's a chance, right?
Well, there was a kid in New York who stabbed a white guy in the subway, black kid. Stabbed the guy. That kid still got arrested. That kid still, everything happened the same. So they're like,
well, hold on. The white guy was like trying to kill everybody.
yeah, he was like crazy.
I didn't hear
Look
this
it up.
story.
People are like paralleling those two cases. They're kind of saying like, nah, see, a black guy did it and he got treated the same way as Daniel Penny. He actually didn't get arrested. He actually got the same thing like Daniel Penny. He didn't get arrested. He got a court date. He got acquitted within a couple of hours. So they were like, look, it's not racist because a black kid did the same thing Daniel Penny did.
I gotta look into that.
They had the same.
That sounds crazy. He stabbed a dude?
He stabbed a dude. He was on the train with his girlfriend.
Daniel Penny wasn't trying to kill the guy. Stabbing somebody is a pretty violent
The guy
act,
was a crazy guy attacking people on the subway. They're literally damn near the same. See, Jordan Neely was threatening to kill people though. See,
yes.
That's the difference. So I feel like Daniel Penny's justified in what he did.
Sure.
I feel like Kyle Rittenhouse is justified in what he did.
Yeah.
We agree on that. But what I'm telling you is
Michaels.
Your white brothers are making it impossible for the men of the community to enforce the rules of the community, to protect the community.
There's nothing stopping you.
Yes, it is jail. Going to court.
I feel like that has to happen to such a small percentage of parents.
Yeah, for beating their kids, like go to jail.
But listen, forget the kids. Think about the fact that if a guy's out here freaking committing crime and we go and kick the shit out of him and hold him down, there's a good chance that we're going to get arrested for assault on the guy.
I don't think there's a lot of people who are really interested in being like crime fighting vigilantes, but the law's holding them back.
There's more than you think. There's more than you think. Just like there's people who want to fill their own potholes in their street because they're tired of hitting it every day. But if you touch it, you're going to jail.
The thought process I had when I saw Daniel Penny choke that dude out was like, holy I would never touch that dude. That dude probably stinks. I don't even like sitting next to a bum
the
on
cops
the subway.
didn't give him, they didn't resuscitate him because they were afraid of getting whatever.
I could smell him
whatever
through the screen.
Yeah.
But were you in the military?
No.
Okay, so that's what I'm telling you. Daniel Penny was a military man.
Right.
So he's already like in that protect and serve mode. So what I'm saying is, what if you let those military dudes say, and I keep using O Block, but man, there's some stuff happening in our cities. Dudes are shooting each other. Let us go deal with that. Let us go, not necessarily even kill them, but yeah, that was what it takes. Let us police our own communities to an extent. Like, we're not taking you to jail if you see the O Block guy shooting somebody and you notice you ain't got no O Block in Texas. And
well,
if they do got it,
gangs.
but those gangs, you don't see them preying on white people. You see them preying on each other.
But you don't see the O Block dudes preying on white people.
Dude,
they shoot their enemies from other gangs down the street.
But look at the criminal element, carjackings, all this other stuff. If gang members were only killing gang members and no one else was getting caught in the crossfire, no one would really care.
Well, that is why nobody cares, because that is pretty much what they're doing.
Right. But what's the problem is it puts other law-abiding citizens in that neighborhood at risk.
Yeah.
They have an issue with it. And Chicago PD is not doing anything about it because they are what? One of those defund the police cities. The mayor defends criminality.
I just also think that
And he's black.
there's so many murders that it's just kind of a lot for them to deal with it. They can't solve them all. When they have a big incentive to, like when FBG Doug gets killed outside the Louis Vuitton store in downtown Chicago, they solve it within, a couple months.
They passed a law making two dudes shooting at each other mutual combatants, so you don't have to take anybody to jail.
Are you serious?
That counts for shootings?
Look it up.
I probably am about
Look
to.
it up. And that's what I'm saying. You just have a bunch of white people incentivizing criminality. And black people are what? Following.
I feel like if you were to ask the average white person in Chicago what the biggest negative is about living in Chicago, they would say all the violence that they're surrounded by and all the criminality.
But then if you ask them,
I don't think they want to incentivize it.
No. When the white people of Chicago had the opportunity to vote for a mayor, there was a guy, I think it was John Valley. He was working with the cops. He was like tough on crime, they literally voted against him, white people, because he had the endorsement of the Chicago PD.
Shootouts are not protected by mutual combat laws.
Okay, my bad.
I assume.
I got one wrong.
It's pretty hard to shoot at another guy without like potentially hitting other people as well.
But what I'm saying is this. This is what I'm saying. You had white people in the city of Chicago go against the tough on crime mayoral candidate in favor of a totally degenerate black dude named Brandon Johnson, who literally said the kids won't commit crimes if we give them summer jobs.
Okay.
And wants to defund the police.
My question, I guess we could probably end on this. Derek Chauvin, a lot of talk on Twitter today that he might be pardoned. Should he be pardoned?
Absolutely.
What do you base that on?
He was basically following protocol, like what they showed in the training manuals that they wouldn't let him submit in court. There was no way if the reason I would pardon him if I'm Trump is because he didn't get a fair trial because he couldn't get a fair. That would be the reason, the legal reason. I'm not a lawyer or anything, but there's no way he could get a fair trial with everything that was going on. And George Floyd overdosed on fentanyl. That's why he died.
Well, Derek Chauvin, at the least, I think he deserves to get another trial because it was impossible. They should have moved it out of state. It was impossible for him to get a fair trial in that state because there was so much media propaganda and all that around it. The thing with George Floyd, he did have a lethal amount of fentanyl in his system, but the coroner's report said that he died from asphyxiation due to his knee on his neck. Now, here's the thing. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Is it possible to kill somebody, suffocate them by putting a knee on their neck? Yeah, but the way in which he was on his neck, that was not restricting him from breathing, in my opinion.
In jiu-jitsu, you realize how hard it is to
really
choke
hard
somebody out to the point that you kill them.
It's really hard. So George Floyd had pre-existing conditions. He had a bunch of fentanyl in his system. The least I think they should do is retry him and use coroners who are not from, they need to do an autopsy with an agency outside of, where was that at? Freaking, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
It might be too late to do an autopsy, but I do want to note the coroner said that he would have ruled it a drug overdose if he hadn't seen the video. So he ruled it asphyxiation not because of the autopsy, but because of the video that he saw.
But what you got to understand is when someone's high on dope, fentanyl, whatever, you have to make sure that the restriction of blood that the knee on the neck did cause, you have to make sure that that didn't aggravate an existing condition and kill him. So like when he's on the side of his neck, that's the carotid artery. You're cutting off blood flow to the brain and you're basically backing up blood flow from the heart. So that could have made him have a heart attack and die or made him have an aneurysm. We don't know. That's why I'm saying everything should have been done outside of that state. And you just got to accept the fact Minneapolis is a fucked up place with a bunch of liberal activists. They elected Walz, Tim Walz, a jerk. So they're all kind of like anti-cop. So yeah, retry the dude. Lock his ass up in prison for life anyway.
Oh, come on, man. Putting aside the laws, what the laws say, you're contradicting yourself again because you're saying the problem is we can't take out the trash. They'll put us in jail. Derek Chauvin took out the trash. They put him in jail, and you're glad about it because he's white.
I'm not glad about it.
He's white, and you said lock him up. You just said lock him up.
Oh, so now you don't want me to use race to determine the outcome like you do.
I just want you to be consistent.
You don't want me to let race influence my position, which is exactly what the you've done with your whole life for 10 years.
Well, no, if you want to admit that that's what you're doing.
I'm being you right now.
Okay.
And you don't like it.
Oh, no, I just think you're wrong. It's not a question of...
I just think you're Jewish, and I think you're doing like some self-hate shit right now. You look like a rabbi, dude. You got that shit bad.
All right, so in 2020, George Floyd dies, and the whole country gets set on fire. What's the difference going to be if Derek Chauvin does get pardoned in terms of our culture's newfound attitudes on race? Feels like a lot has changed in 5 years.
Nah, we ain't letting them burn shit
anymore.
We ain't not letting them burn down shit because they destroyed my family's business too. That pissed me off. But the thing I'll say about this is, do I think the world would be better if I had to choose one person to keep in the world, George Floyd or Derek Chauvin? I would choose Derek Chauvin. I mean, he's a cop. He's capable of doing more good than George Floyd. George Floyd was just a junkie who like held a baby to a woman, held a gun to a pregnant woman, and he's just a bum.
He did porn.
But
He did porn.
He did porn.
A lot of people don't know that.
He's one of your heroes. I did know that.
Never seen his work, but you know.
But the thing is, like, George Floyd was just somebody, in my opinion, who life or death really wasn't contributing anything to the society. Derek Chauvin might rescue a cat from a tree or something, or save a little kid's life. So yeah, I think he got a raw deal, but I just think you chose to be a cop in this liberal shithole. Like, you kind of know how things are gonna go because you're in a city where people are screaming defund the police. I'm gonna just be like, look, let him do whatever he wants because I'm not losing my job over this shit.
I mean, it feels like everybody was so scared of the activists and the looters and the protesters, et cetera, that they just kind of ceded their cities to these people. Now it feels like the other side is so emboldened that you would have like really like an almost all out war in these cities if you were to have like something similar to the 2020 protests.
You need the Proud Boys, man. I like the Proud Boys. I support them.
But it's going to be way bigger than just the Proud Boys. It's going to be many people who are going to be going to war with anybody who's trying to burn down buildings.
Now they know people will fight back.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see it. Like you'll have some unrest, but it's not going to be anything like what we saw. The Antifa is pretty much gone. The left is just tired. I don't think they have it in them anymore. They're not. No one's going to give another like $18 billion to Black Lives Matter. If
90 million.
Whatever it was. Yeah, it wasn't 18 billion, but whatever it was. If they go to riot, they're not getting a bunch of money. So the incentives are gone. The energy's gone. It didn't do anything the first time.
I mean, Trump's done some pretty wild stuff even over the past couple of months. And like, what has the left's reaction been? Like almost nothing.
No, because they secretly know that they're going to benefit from it. That's what it is. It's like we have to pretend like we're against it just so we could keep what we have left of our base. But ultimately, do you think that a bunch of liberal politicians then go run and buy the Magnificent Seven stock and all that stuff? Dude, yeah, they did. They like, this shit gonna work. Let me get rich while I talk shit about it on this side. They're really good at that. So Trump is a benefit for everybody. And even liberals know that. That's why they're putting up this half-hearted effort to fight him. Oh, they're like throwing punches like the, they know, even Democrats admitted that like the tariffs, Biden kept many of the Trump tariffs and placed more tariffs in. So what does that tell you? He deep down knows like this has to happen, but they have to act like they're not cool with it. You know how it is. But I think we're done here.
Yeah. Anything else that we should cover? Anything else burning in your frontal lobe?
What's your last meal? If you were going to die tomorrow, if I was going to jump on this table and kill you, what would your meal be for your last meal?
My last meal, probably just like a good steak and potato.
I thought you were going to say like potato salad with raisins in it.
I like potato salad, but not with raisins.
I never had that.
That's like really white food or something.
Do you eat
Like a
soul food?
stereotypical white food.
Do you fuck with like soul food, like collard greens, cornbread, pork chops,
Yeah, cornbread, pork chops. Not like a lot, but yeah.
Oxtails.
I like jerk chicken once in a while,
This guy.
I don't know if I ever had collard greens. Maybe I'm just like not familiar with what they look like exactly.
I don't even like collard greens, but they're these green leaves. I don't like it, but I love oxtails, freaking dressing, all that. As you can see.
You ever had a potato pancake?
Hell yeah, latke.
Okay.
Fire with
There you
syrup. I put syrup on mine.
You're like, why am I supposed to be so enthused about this?
Because when you cook it and put meat in it,
You put meat on it or around it.
It tastes like meat.
Okay.
You put it in a pot, put some ham hocks in there, some onion. It's nice. It's very flavorful. I don't care for it too much, but black people swear by it.
Looks gross. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of nasty.
Try it.
Okay. Well, this was a fiery debate conversation. I mean, especially for two guys who are essentially on similar places on the political spectrum. You might not want to admit that, but you guys have probably more in common than you like. We brought up the Derek Chauvin thing. They're going to be on my ass for you being the black representation in this conversation because it's supposed to be somebody who's supposed to stand on business for George Floyd, right?
Well, I stood on business for everything else.
Okay.
I feel like I made a serviceable argument. I didn't sit in here and get caught in freaking 100 contradictions. That's what pisses me off. Like, if you probably think that, but you can't identify a single one. But the argument I'm making is just true, man. Like, You can't be holding the keys and blaming people for where we're going. Like, dude, come on, you fucking controlling shit more than you want to admit.
I'm not gonna repeat all my
Zero accountability.
I could just repeat the same things I already said, but we heard them the first time. So
Right.
yeah, thanks for having me, you guys. It was fun. It was good content. Do you like edit it down, or are you gonna like release the whole
raw?
Okay, good.
Let's see what Twitter thinks of this. Let's see everybody make their $20 a day off Twitter by clipping this up.
Yeah.
$20 a day.
Okay. Ian Miles Chong, have fun. I can see it. Thank you to everybody who watched this. We'll link to you guys' Twitters or Instagrams or whatever in the description in case anybody wants to stay tapped in with you guys. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Lyndon. No Jumper, coolest podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate y'all.